Something extraordinary is happening across parts of Africa, something so bold that if it works at scale, it will rewrite how humans think about electricity forever. Imagine entire villages lighting up without cables, transmission lines, or expensive infrastructure. Imagine power delivered through the air like Wi-Fi, reaching places where traditional grids never could. That's exactly what a small team of African engineers claim they've achieved. Their prototype isn't just a device. It's a vision of a continent breaking free from energy poverty. But the question gripping experts worldwide is simple. Is this miracle real or is it impossible? The story begins in a modest workshop, nothing glamorous, nothing advanced. A place filled with cracked tables, homemade coils, recycled components, and a persistent belief that Africa doesn't need to wait for the world's permission to innovate. Here, a group of young engineers were obsessed with one problem. How do you deliver electricity to remote communities that are too far, too disconnected, or too poor to be reached by the traditional grid? Building transmission lines costs billions. Maintaining them is even more expensive. And for many rural regions, the infrastructure simply doesn't exist. So they turned the problem upside down. What if electricity didn't need a grid at all? Using magnetic resonance coupling and long-range RF power transmission, they began experimenting with a concept most experts dismissed as a fantasy. They built small transmitters, then bigger ones. They measured output loss, redesigned circuits, minimized radiation leakage, and stored every result. After 3 years of failures and breakthroughs, something happened during one late-night test. They powered a bulb over 90 meters away with no wires, no contact, and no trickery. When the data was analyzed the next morning, the team realized something astonishing. Their system was delivering stable, usable power at distances no low-budget African lab had ever achieved. Suddenly, this wasn't science fiction anymore. It was proof of concept. Now let's break down the science in simple terms, because for many viewers, the idea of wireless electricity feels like magic. But it isn't magic. It's physics. Think of how Wi-Fi sends data through the air. Now imagine sending energy instead. The core of this system relies on resonant frequency, matching a transmitter and a receiver tuned to the same electromagnetic resonance. When aligned correctly, energy jumps between them with surprisingly low loss. This principle isn't new. Nikola Tesla attempted a similar idea a century ago. The difference? Tesla didn't have today's materials, circuitry, or microcontrollers. The African engineers use a 3-stage process. The system converts ordinary electricity into a high-frequency electromagnetic field. This reduces energy loss and stabilizes transmission. Unlike regular RF broadcasting, their transmitter focuses energy in a controlled beam, similar to how a flashlight directs light. This avoids dangerous radiation spread and improves efficiency. The receivers use tuned resonant coils and rectifying circuits that convert the electromagnetic waves back into usable electricity enough to power lights, fans, small appliances, and charge batteries. Early versions had terrible efficiency, but the latest prototypes reportedly deliver 35 to 40% usable power at medium range. That may sound low until you consider the alternative. For many villages, 0% power is the current reality. If scaled, this could bypass millions of kilometers of cables and poles, leapfrogging Africa into a new era of gridless energy. Right now, over 600 million Africans live without reliable electricity. That means no refrigeration, no clean water pumps, no digital access, no clinics running at night, no modern education. Traditional grid expansion would take decades and trillions of dollars. And many regions don't even have the geography for transmission lines. That's why this wireless power concept is being called a potential leapfrog technology, just like mobile phones replaced landlines in Africa. Here's what makes it promising. No physical lines. No copper theft, no storm damage, no maintenance cost for poles. Flexible deployment. Transmitters can be placed in schools, clinics, community centers, or mountaintops. Fast installation. A village could gain electricity in hours instead of months or years. Low operational cost. Once built, transmitters require little overhead, but it's not a perfect solution. It cannot currently power heavy machinery, factories, or entire cities. The efficiency drops with distance, and governments need strict safety standards to avoid misuse. So, can it end energy poverty entirely? Maybe not today. But it can attack the hardest part of the problem: remote communities that no investor wants to reach. And that alone could transform millions of lives. Section 5. Global Reaction. 235 words. When early demonstrations leaked online, the reactions were explosive. Some experts were impressed. Others were skeptical. A few were outright furious. Tech optimists called it one of the most hopeful African breakthroughs of the decade. Energy companies, however, saw it very differently. If wireless power becomes scalable, it threatens existing business models: transmission, distribution, infrastructure, even metering. Several anonymous emails reportedly warned the inventors to slow down or reconsider going public. Meanwhile, global universities began sending inquiries. A North American engineering department invited the team for collaboration. A European energy lab asked for data. One Asian tech giant even offered to purchase the prototype, and offer the team refused. The reaction wasn't limited to academia or industry. African governments, hearing the buzz, requested demonstrations. Some ministries expressed excitement about powering clinics and schools. Others hesitated, worried about regulatory frameworks, safety testing, and political consequences. Social media reactions ranged from patriotic pride, "Africa can lead the next energy revolution," to conspiracy-level fear, "This tech will be shut down by powerful interests before it reaches the people." One thing is clear: whether this technology succeeds or fails, it has already made the world pay attention. Africa is no longer just consuming global innovation, it is creating it. Section 6. The Twist. 225 words. Here's the part most viewers didn't expect. As the excitement grew, the engineering team conducted a long-range test intended to measure real-world performance under open-air conditions. For the first few minutes, everything ran smoothly. The receiver captured power, devices lit up, data streamed. Then suddenly, the transmitter shut down. Not because of a malfunction, but because the system automatically detected an enormous surge of interference. Someone or something had tried to jam the frequency. This event changed everything. The team realized that wireless power isn't just a technological challenge, it's a security challenge. If the wrong entity interferes, power can be disrupted, stolen, or redirected. That means that before this tech reaches the public, it needs encrypted transmission protocols, protected frequency bands, automated shutdown systems. Government-level safety standards. The twist? A small African lab accidentally stumbled into discussions normally reserved for high-level military and telecom engineers. Suddenly, the narrative wasn't just about solving energy poverty. It was about guarding a potential breakthrough so valuable, so disruptive, that it may attract powerful allies and even more powerful enemies. And that leads us to the final question: what happens next? Africa stands on the edge of something remarkable, a chance not just to catch up with the world's energy systems, but to leap ahead entirely. Whether this wireless power technology becomes a global revolution or remains a prototype depends on science, funding, security, and political courage. But one thing is undeniable: the idea has already ignited a conversation Africa has waited decades to join. A conversation about future power, future innovation, and future independence. And for millions without electricity, even the possibility of hope is powerful on its own.